Councilwoman Bussells, thank you for joining us after what was a late evening on Election Day. I want to get right into some of the questions that we have. Just looking at the turnout, the election turnout, Sam Johnson getting 47% of the vote, having the majority in the turnout. Is there any concern for you right now heading into the runoff?
Well, I think first and foremost, I do want to thank everybody that did come out. I've always said local politics matter so much more than oftentimes state or national because we affect your everyday life. I've been in a runoff before, so no, I'm not worried. I'm actually confident that we're going to win. I do believe that my opponent misled voters with false endorsements as well as what he does as his full-time job. And I think it's important for the next 2 weeks for voters to get educated on who I am and what my policies are and the work and the record that I have, because I'm running on my own record, not the record of someone else's, like my opponents. And so I'm very excited to get that messaging out and remind folks that things like Finley Park reopening to having clean gateways to trying to address homelessness, I was a part of that. I was a part of the council that helped do that. And I think that voters will be re-energized to come out and help get me another 4 years.
What's at stake here with the potential change in this runoff election if you were not to retain your seat?
Well, I have made historic results happen the last 4 years, from addressing homelessness to recognizing the first ever Columbia Black Maternal Health Week to passing the first gun law requiring lost or stolen firearms. And couple that with historic investments where I can actually point to exactly the dollar amounts of businesses that are coming in, that are paying or that are providing good paying jobs for our hardworking families. That's what's at stake. And what's also at stake is not having someone who has Columbia's interests in mind, but potentially have their own self-interests and special interests in mind. I am an academic. I'm an epidemiologist by trade. This was never part of the plan. I went and got my PhD, fought for a dissertation, but I ran because I genuinely care about the place that I call home. And I think that Columbia isn't used to elected officials that follow through on their promises. They're not used to someone like me that doesn't come from a political background or the establishment, but truly just cares about making Columbia a great place for people, regardless of whether they were born and raised here or they moved here like I did and decided to call it home. So what's at stake is not having someone that has the best interests of Columbia at heart.
I want to go back to a point that you made in the initial question, reestablishing what your platform is to a lot of the constituents. What do you feel is the most important point to drive home in this lead up to the runoff that you feel may have slipped through the cracks in the initial?
That's a great question. I would say, again, I have always focused on my track record, the policy decisions that I've made, and what I believe in. I have not heard that from my opponent. In fact, there have been many forums in which he has said, I agree with everything she's done. So my question is, what would you do differently? And what have you done that isn't someone else's legacy that you're running on? And I think voters need to understand that all of the ideas and programs and initiatives that I've talked about, I've had a direct stake in. And I want to continue a lot of that work because, as you know, government can be slow. And so for many things, I've laid the foundation. And I want to see it be followed through the next 4 years.
Last question I'll ask here, heading into November 18th, what are some final thoughts or final words, or both, for constituents and for yourself?
Well, I would say, again, first and foremost, this movement and the vision that I have for Columbia includes everyone. I want people to come back out and vote for me because I represent someone who is for the people, not a party, not a specific interest in mind. And I think you saw that with the broad support that I had across all 4 districts. I think that with some of the clear distinctions that we will make in our campaign that shows you exactly why I'm qualified will help people come out and get me reelected. And so I would say that, stay tuned. And I challenge my opponent to actually talk politics. I'm looking forward to some, I think, spirited discussions about that.
I'll open the floor for any final comments that you have.
Well, I want to thank Columbia for allowing me to continue to serve these past 4 years. We made history. I was a top vote getter in 2021 with a foreign name, someone who had no political experience because Columbia believed in better. I know it's a really tough time where national politics is incredibly divisive. I am proud to stand with my communities of color, my LGBTQ community, and the diverse communities that I get to represent as the at-large council member. And so I ask you to pay attention, and even if you didn't vote yesterday, that you come out and support me on November 18th.
We will have the full rendition of these interviews on our website, wistv.com. Councilwoman Bussells, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.